What if the person you've been running from your entire life isn't the world but yourself? What if the shame, the anger, the guilt you've tried to bury were the keys to your freedom? In this chapter, we confront the parts of ourselves we've been too afraid to face. It's time to meet the shadow within and discover why embracing our darkest truths is the only way to become whole. Are you ready to step into the light? They tell you to be good, to be likable, to be agreeable, to not cause a scene. So you nod when you want to scream. You smile when you want to cry. You say yes when your soul is begging you to say no. You become what they need, what they expect, what they can love. And little by little, the real you starts to disappear. This is not kindness. This is not compassion. This is not maturity. This is self-erasure. You've been taught that abandoning yourself is how you earn belonging. But let me tell you something no one else will. The version of you that people love, the quiet, helpful, selfless, drama-free version, is not really you. It's the mask you put on because somewhere along the line, you learned that who you really are isn't safe to be. You learned that expressing your anger, your grief, your desire, your truth, comes at a cost. So you repressed it, you buried it, you split off from it, and you told yourself that being easy to love was more important than being true. But deep down you know the truth. You are not free. You're just compliant. You're not healed. You're just emotionally numb. You're not at peace. You're just disconnected from the war you're too afraid to fight. The war between the mask you wear and the soul you've silenced. This script you're following, this perfect agreeable persona, it's not who you are. It's who you became to survive. But survival is not the same as wholeness. Safety is not the same as freedom. And belonging is not the same as being known. So now I have to ask you, who would you be if you weren't performing? And what would it cost to become that person? You don't lose yourself all at once. It happens slowly, quietly, in 1,000 moments you barely notice. The first time you were punished for telling the truth. The first time you were shamed for expressing emotion. The first time you were ignored, dismissed, or laughed at for simply being you. That's where it starts. You realize that love is conditional, that safety has a price, that acceptance comes with rules. So you adapt. You learn which parts of yourself to mute, which emotions to hide, which needs to shrink until they disappear. You tell yourself it's no big deal, that you're just being mature, being selfless, being strong. But deep down it hurts. Not in a loud, dramatic way, in a quiet, aching way, like a hunger you've trained yourself to ignore. You go through life starving for authenticity but too afraid to ask for it, because you've been taught that authenticity makes you difficult, that truth makes you dramatic, that boundaries make you selfish. So instead, you become who they want. You smile when you're uncomfortable. You apologize when you're angry. You stay silent when your soul wants to speak. You keep the peace, even when it costs you your inner world. And over time, this mask you wear becomes so convincing, even you forget it's not real. But the body remembers. The soul remembers. The part of you that you've silenced is still in there, screaming, suffocating, begging to be seen. Not by the world, but by you. Because the longer you betray yourself, the louder the pain becomes. And no amount of praise, approval, or external validation can ever fill the void you created by abandoning your truth. You were never weak for feeling deeply, but they made you believe you were. They taught you that silence is strength, that stillness is maturity, that shrinking yourself is noble. So you learned to swallow pain like medicine, bitter, necessary, and never to be questioned. You convinced yourself that self-abandonment was just part of growing up, that denying your needs was what made you lovable. You became proud of how little you asked for, how little space you took up, how easily you let others cross your boundaries without protest. You mistook numbness for resilience, disconnection for independence. You wore your emotional starvation like armor, thinking it made you untouchable. but it didn't. It just made you invisible, even to yourself. You smiled through what broke you, laughed when you wanted to scream, stayed calm when your world was burning, and people called it grace. They admired your composure. They praised your poise. But no one ever asked what it was costing you, because they didn't see the battles inside. The war between who you are and who you're pretending to be. The ache of carrying emotions with no safe place to put them. The exhaustion of performing a version of yourself that feels nothing, needs nothing, fears nothing. That is not strength. That is survival. That is a soul in hiding. And the tragedy is, you've become so good at surviving, you've forgotten how to live. You've buried your joy with your pain, repressed your power with your shame. And the only way back is through the fire you've spent your whole life avoiding. The fire of feeling everything you've been told to suppress. Not to be consumed by it, but to finally come home to the self you abandoned to feel safe. There's a mirror you've been avoiding your whole life. Not the one that shows your face, but the one that shows your truth. The one that doesn't lie to keep you comfortable. The one that doesn't flatter you to keep you numb. You've walked past it every day, pretending not to notice how it catches your shadow in its corners, because you knew what it would show you, the version of yourself you buried to be accepted, the rage you swallowed to be polite, the grief you ignored to stay productive, the longing you silenced to seem strong. You feared that if you looked too closely, you'd unravel, that you'd see just how much of your life has been lived on autopilot, a series of rehearsed smiles, rehearsed apologies, rehearsed disappearances. So instead, you performed. You became who they wanted. You became who you thought they needed. And little by little, you disappeared into the image, until you weren't sure where the mask ended, and you began. But the mirror waits, quiet, patient, ruthless in its honesty. And one day you will stand in front of it, either by choice or by breakdown. You will see the person you've betrayed, the child who just wanted to be held, the teen who just wanted to be heard, the adult who just wanted to be real. And in that moment, you'll have to choose. Keep performing and call it peace, or let the mask crack and finally meet the stranger behind your own eyes. It won't be pretty. It won't be easy, but it will be honest. And sometimes honesty is the first breath after a lifetime of suffocating. There comes a moment, quiet, sudden, irreversible, when the weight of pretending becomes heavier than the cost of being real. It doesn't come with fanfare, no dramatic explosion, just a stillness so deafening you can't hear anything but your own exhaustion. You wake up and something inside you refuses to play along anymore. You can't smile through it. You can't nod and say, "I'm fine." You can't contort yourself one more time just to be liked, understood, or praised. The mask cracks, not because you wanted it to, but because it simply can't hold the pressure anymore. And in the wreckage of all the roles you used to play, the strong one, the funny one, the one who never needs anything, you find yourself raw, exposed, unfiltered. It's terrifying, because now there's nowhere to hide. No script to follow, no applause to chase. You're left with the truth, that you've spent years abandoning yourself to be loved in ways that never really fed you. You've dimmed your fire to make others feel safe. You've buried your pain to keep the peace. And now that everything's unraveling, you wonder who you are without the performance. This is the breakdown they don't warn you about. Not the messy crying, but the quiet surrender. When your soul finally whispers, "Enough." And for the first time you listen, not to the voice of the world, but to the voice you've silenced for so long, the real you, the one who's been waiting for the performance to end so the healing could begin. Beneath the silence you kept there was rage, not loud or violent, but ancient, the kind that simmers behind tight smiles and polite nods. The rage of always putting yourself last, of swallowing words you should have screamed, of bending yourself into shapes that made everyone comfortable, except you. You learned early on that anger was dangerous, that it made you unlovable, difficult, too much. So you buried it. You buried it so deeply that even you forgot it was there. But your body never forgot. It tensed. It ached. It screamed through sleepless nights and clenched jaws. That rage didn't vanish. It fermented. And now, it's rising. Not to destroy, but to liberate. Because rage isn't just a symptom of pain. It's a protest, a refusal. It's the part of you that still knows you deserved better, that your boundaries mattered, that your voice should have been heard. And when you finally allow yourself to feel it, not run from it, not suppress it, it doesn't consume you. It frees you. You realize your anger wasn't the problem. It was the silence that followed it, the shame, the denial, the mask. Letting yourself feel that rage is letting yourself exist, fully, unapologetically. And beneath that anger, you find grief. And beneath that grief, you find truth. You were never too much. You were never the problem. You were just trying to survive in a world that taught you your needs were a burden. But you're not here to stay small. You're here to reclaim every part of you that was buried beneath the lie that self-sacrifice is noble. You're here to rise. There's a war inside you, not of swords or violence, but of silence and masks. One side is your truth, wild, raw, untamed. The other is your persona, polished, pleasing, acceptable. You wear it like armor. You smile when you want to scream. You say it's fine when your soul is burning. You become who they need you to be, until you forget who you are. But the body never lies. It tightens under the weight of pretending. It stiffens under the pressure of performance, because no matter how hard you try, you can't become someone else without killing parts of yourself. And that's what you've done. Slowly, repeatedly. With every time you said yes when you meant no. With every time you betrayed your intuition just to avoid conflict, and it worked. For a while. People liked the mask. They praised it. They rewarded it. But now it's cracking. You feel it when you're alone. That quiet ache, that empty heaviness. It's not depression, it's disconnection. From your fire, from your truth, from your soul. You don't need more affirmations. You need honesty. Brutal, sacred honesty. Because you are not here to be palatable. You are not here to fit in. You are here to become whole. And that means letting the false self die. The one you built to survive. It served you once, but now it's suffocating you. The war won't end until you stop fighting yourself, until you stop abandoning yourself. You're not broken. You're buried. And the way out is not through becoming more of who they want you to be. The way out is through becoming all of who you already are. Something in you must die. Not your spirit, not your soul, but the version of you that was built to survive in a world that never saw you. That version that smiled on cue, stayed quiet to stay safe, and wore ambition like a mask just to be worthy of love. That version worked hard to belong. But belonging is not the same as being seen. You can be surrounded by people and still feel invisible. That's the prison of the persona. It keeps you admired but never truly known. And now you're exhausted, not from life, but from pretending. The persona was never you. It was a role, a costume stitched together by fear and reinforced by praise. Every compliment that applauded your self-control, your composure, your perfection, was another nail in the coffin of your authenticity. But now your soul is rebelling. You can feel it. The way your body aches when you ignore your truth. The way your voice shakes when you try to suppress your anger. The way your dreams come in symbols warning you. If you do not die to who you are not, you will never become who you are. This is the death that precedes rebirth. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, it's quiet, internal, and terrifying. Because the moment you let go of the mask, you risk being seen. And being seen means being judged, being rejected. But it also means being free. The death of the persona is not the end of you. It's the beginning. Of life, of truth, of intimacy, of becoming. What you fear losing was never yours. What's real cannot be taken. And what's emerging, the raw, sacred, unfiltered you, is the only thing that can ever set you free. In the quiet chaos that follows the death of the persona, you begin to feel it. the presence lurking just beneath your conscious awareness, the parts of yourself you've pushed away, denied, or buried in shame. These are your shadows, your unacknowledged fears, desires, impulses, and flaws. And now, they are ready to be seen. You've spent your life running from them, pretending they didn't exist, but they've been with you all along, quietly pulling the strings of your actions, sabotaging your relationships, and infecting your thoughts with doubts and insecurities. The truth is, you are not simply a victim of your circumstances. You are complicit in your own suffering because you've allowed the shadow to remain unchecked. It lives in the parts of you that you are ashamed of, the parts that feel unlovable, too much or not enough. And now you must confront it. You can no longer pretend these parts are not you. They are not separate. They are yours. They are the unclaimed fragments of your soul that you abandoned in your pursuit of perfection. You might be terrified, but this confrontation is the only way forward. The more you resist, the more these shadow aspects will haunt you in the form of projections, in others, in life, in your own mind. It is time to stop running. It is time to face the anger you've buried, the guilt you've ignored, the jealousy you've suppressed. To look into the mirror and say, "This is me. All of me." The shadow is not evil. It is not a monster. It is simply the unconscious parts of yourself that need to be embraced, not fought. Only when you accept your shadow will you begin to reclaim your power and move toward the wholeness that individuation promises. The path is not easy, but it is the only one that leads to freedom, the freedom to finally be whole,